Warm introductions are the single best way to get investor meetings, but the way most founders go about getting them can actually hurt their raise. Founders tend to treat them as the beginning of the process, the way to get their foot in the door to get those first meetings, but that is actually completely backwards. In fact, warm introductions usually come last in the fundraising process. I'm going to explain why and how to do it right in this episode of Fill the Boot. Welcome to Fill the Boot, the science of startups. I'm your host, Lance Cottrell, an exited founder and active angel investor, and I'm here to help you climb that nearly vertical learning curve you're going to encounter as you build your startup. So look, if you're a second-time founder with a Stanford MBA and connections to half of Sand Hill Road, you can probably call anyone and get an introduction to anyone anytime you need. But you are probably not one of those people. If you're an outsider, you're not part of that inner circle of investors, your path to getting warm introductions is going to look completely different. As an active angel investor and president of the North Bay Angels, I see this particular pattern happen over and over again. A founder will reach out to me cold and pitch me on their startup. I'll take a quick look and say no. And then the next thing they do is ask me if I can make a warm introduction to some other founders, because they've heard that warm introductions are the gold standard, and so they try to ask absolutely everyone. But I basically never give those warm introductions, and it's probably not for the reason you or they might think. First, I hardly know this company that's just cold pitched me. I can't really make an intelligent introduction that explains why this investor should be supporting it. And I'm not going to put any of my reputation capital behind you because I don't really know whether you're a good investment. If I send this off to another investor, they take a close look and determine that this was actually a really stupid investment. They're going to wonder, why am I trying to convince them to invest in this company? Am I some kind of an idiot? They won't take me seriously the next time I try to reach out. And a lukewarm introduction is almost worse than no introduction at all, because it implies that you couldn't even work out how to contact them on your own and needed me to give you their email address so you could get in touch. It doesn't make a great impression. Second, investors don't want to get introductions from me unless I am also investing. I see this myself. When someone passes me a company and says, hey, you should invest in them, but they themselves are not investing, the first thought I have is, why is this guy sending me his leftovers? This wasn't good enough for you, but it should be good enough for me? That immediately leaves me with a very negative impression of your company, and that's not where you want to start that connection. Now, there is one exception to this, and that is if you're getting introductions from investors who cannot or absolutely would not invest in a company like yours. Right? They only invest in B rounds or C rounds and you're raising your pre-seed, or they only invest in SaaS and AI and you've got a deep hardware tech kind of company. Then they can say, I would love to invest in them if I did these kinds of investments, and here's why. But they'd better be speaking from a deep knowledge of your company and able to articulate clearly why you're a good investment, not just saying, hey, I know Joe, you should talk to him. So with all that said, who can you ask for a warm introduction? Well, it's got to be people who know you well, who've looked deeply in your company, who understand your business model, your competitive advantages, your unique insights, your go-to-market strategy, the size of your market, and ideally people who have put money into your company, who've already invested. Their money is where their mouth is. Now, the great thing is the people who fit those criteria, you hardly even need to ask them to make warm introductions because these are the first people who've agreed to invest in your round, right? They've already put their hand up and said, yeah, I'll make a commitment on this round. And now they may just be self-circled. They might not have actually written the check yet, but they're in. They're now highly motivated to see the whole round fill because very rarely will they have written a check or offered to write a check large enough to fill the entire round. But now they're going to be going out to everyone they know to try to get momentum behind the round, get everyone else on board. And these are the most compelling warm introductions. People who are actively excited, have just written a check, and want to see the round closed. And this is exactly why rounds tend to accelerate towards the end. It takes forever to get the first few people to commit. And then once you get them, they can often get you that lead investor who's going to set the terms. That lead investor is also going to be putting all of his reputation behind it. And we see an exponential increase in the money into the round until the whole thing closes with a big bang at the very, very end. It's the first ones you need to get that are challenging. But the reason people say warm intros work is because they do, just at the end. So stop spending so much time at the beginning on these warm introductions from cold investors. It's not going to work. It sends bad signals. And so now you need to be focusing on how do you get those people. And I've done whole episodes on this, but the key is perfecting your cold outreach, in particular, perfecting your initial elevator pitch or emailed or direct message pitch, like 100 words or so, really tight, really short, refine and refine and refine until you can get the response rates up to something reasonable so you can get those meetings. Make sure then your pitch is exactly on point because it is incredibly competitive. Investors are seeing enormous numbers of decks. So you're not going to be closing 20% of the people you cold outreach to, right? More like 1% or less. But you can keep hitting and keep hitting and keep hitting until you get those first couple. Then you get to start employing the warm intro flywheel and get through the rest of the round. The whole thing isn't as frustrating and disappointing as the very beginning. You just need to get through that beginning phase to start to see the virtuous cycle happen. Now, of course, all of this assumes that your company is, in fact, investor ready, that you've done all the validation and gotten everything to the right point where you are a rational investment potential for angels and early stage VCs. Because if you're not, all the effort in the world isn't going to pay dividends. And that's why I built my free startup fundraising toolkit. It shows you exactly where you stand, where you have gaps, and what you should be fixing next. It's available at feeltheboot.com/raise. I encourage you to check it out. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope you found it useful and interesting. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. I'd really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference to the channel and ensures that you could get more content like this from the YouTube algorithm. Now, if you need to start working on your cold outreach, I encourage you to check out this video here. It's all about how to turn cold contacts into warm connections before you actually ask for the pitch. It can make a huge difference to your success rate. Until next time, ciao.